To me, it has lost its meaning.
Implementation of the decentralization reforms in the early years from 1993 to 1997 was heralded as exemplary.
With management, you are talking of ideas.
This was evidenced by sound policy and legislative framework that gave local authorities autonomy to hire and fire their staff.
But when we did decentralization in 1993, without going into detail, human resources was mismanaged. Consequently, and gradually, the CAO, the town clerk, and a number of top district leaders were taken back to the central government because local government, particularly district councils, were abusing the powers they had.
And that one brought conflict between the local leaders and then the chief administrative officers, because there are times where a decision could be taken. CAO would say, no, for me, I can't implement that. After all, I am from the center.
Local governments also collected taxes and received sizable grants from the central government.
And yet local government depends so much on local revenue. And this is the local revenue they take away from us. So basically, if you have no resources, do you have any power? Because money is power.
Some scholars have argued that those gains have since been eroded to the extent that decentralization is now riddled with the policy failures and reversals.
So when we began the multi-party dispensation, new players come into the political scene, and therefore they started to bring in the politics into the implementation, where a lot of programs which should have been initiated at the local government level started coming from the center instead, and a number of powers were re-centralized.
Decentralization promised to improve services and democratic practices. However, local government leaders insist the policy should be improved.
And we are given all our autonomous authority. You would see a difference in the districts. If you see a real decentralization go to Kenya, just our neighbors here, yet they picked it from what? From Uganda. Ugandans are very good at making policies, but very poor implementing their policies.
When I was in the council in Lira in 2005, you'll find that about 19% of the total budget, it was the money that goes to the district. But things kept on changing. There was a time that came to 15%. And recently, can you imagine, 9% of the national budget distributed to all the local government in the country?
No, first of all, they were collecting revenue and squandering at source. Ask one district government which has built a health center 3 on the local revenue, or a primary school on local revenue. Ask one of them.
Give us our money. Let us collect our money from here, and then we use it. We just account for it. Or if they are releasing the money, they should release the money on time, so that we can do the work. Staff are sitting doing nothing. Technical staff are just sitting doing nothing because the money's not there.
Lira University Don Dr. Jim Obonyo believes sending more resources to the lower administrative units would make more meaning, because that is where the majority uptake services. Obonyo says stringent accountability strategies like Baraza would ensure accountability and transparency.
There are so many unfunded priorities in local government: rural road, water, educational infrastructure, health services, still a lot of gaps. So there is need for government to increase more resources to local government, maybe make it 30 to 40% of the national budget.
About 70% of district chairpersons failed to retain their seats in the last general election, largely because voters say they failed to deliver. Scholars believe district heads will continue to pay the price because electorates require services.
What do you expect people to say? There's a lot of complaint. The activity is there, the money is there in the system, but nobody listens to you.
As local leaders wage the battle for power, some citizens have also disagreed with them for failing to involve them in designing interventions directed to their communities.
Sometimes there are what they are called hybrid projects. These are projects that are meant to be within the decentralized unit, but you will find that there is someone in the names of contractor from the center. Behind that person, there is someone called the Godfather. Those are the dangerous people and will threaten your positions at the district level. Not also good for the decentralizations.
It leaves us in a limbo. We are unable to support our people.
They should raise productivity. And then they can go to the central government and say, this is our level of productivity. They meet the president every day. They meet the speaker every day. They should argue first among themselves what are the changes that they would want to see and then they can distill that and bring them forth for discussion. Just complaining on the outside doesn't help them.
It's going to be a very hot issue.
Much as Ofono advises leaders to complain formally to the right forum, Lira University professor Dr. Mwesigwa projects a stricter recentralization in the coming years because local governments have completely failed to reclaim their powers over the years.
Because the local actors have accepted to remain administrative units of the central government. So we can continue with that until such a time when we get those people who will be more robust, who we can fight for their powers and claim them back.
Whether or not this will come to a reality is a question that only time will tell. Ediolwa, UBC News.